Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm George.
I'm Stav.
Welcome back to Malaka Motorsports. Today we're going to be swapping out the Track 034 engine mounts out for the street mounts that they shipped over that are supposed to have a softer, more subtle ride, but still very close to the same performance in terms of locking things down. As you guys know, I've been running the tracks for a better part of, a year and a half now. Drag racing, half mile, all that jazz. And now with the whole downtime that we have with this whole pandemic that's going on, we figured it's a perfect example to install the softer mounts and see how they operate actually on the street, because right now that's the only thing available to us in terms of no racing events. Everything is pretty much canceled. So in today's episode, we're going to be removing the track mounts and then showcasing how they install, what converts, what parts are reused as we put things together on the 034 street mounts. Without further ado, let's get right down to it. Stav, you got anything to say?
Don't buy silver.
Perfect. Let's get to work. This assembly didn't take too long. It was actually pretty straightforward. You know, the first time we did the track mounts, it was definitely a huge learning curve for us. We didn't know how to take it apart. We didn't do most of the work is done by MotorSports and their team there in Vegas with the Rs3, minus some of the parts that we removed and developed and built, like the throttle body inlet and now the intake manifold that we worked on for a little bit of time. But again, disassembly was a little different. I have Cyvex in the car now, so disassembling the mount, putting the wires out of the way, and that's looking like spaghetti. Sorry about that, but just kind of laying everything on the side there, just getting it out of the way so I can access now that plastic bracket, move it out of the way, and then start taking off the mount. As you can see there, we slid 2 jacks underneath the front of the transmission and motor, one on each side. We have one on the back of the on the trans. And on the other side, I guess it's still on the transfer case. We have 2 jacks there kind of supporting everything versus putting it on the motor so we don't crack an oil pan or something. But we put a little bit of tension, jacking the engine and trans up, and then I was able to kind of just loosen them real quick with these versus trying to use a wrench and then kind of like messing my hands up. So again, the driver's side trans/engine bracket really sucks to get to in terms of access. I think Stav had it easy on this one in terms of the passenger mount. He was able to finish pretty quickly. Just the driver's side, it's just a pain. And I needed a ratcheting 16 mil to get it done. And out of all the ratchets that I had, I couldn't find the 16 mil. So I got to go pick up another set. So I had to do this by hand with just a regular old wrench. And about 30 minutes just turning these screws quarter way underneath there. It kind of sucked. But just keep in mind, as you're doing this, just have a lot of patience. You don't want to break anything. These cars are expensive. Take your time. And if you need to, go kick something, just step out of the garage and go yell or something like that. Give it a break because it does get frustrating. But, we're taking it out, getting everything ready, and then we'll be disassembling the track mounts and then converting them to the street sports here. The engine bay is torn apart. We have the track mounts out on both sides. And then here they are. So these are the track mounts that we put, I don't know, 18,000 miles on them, maybe. And they're still so tight and rock solid. You can't move not one joint. And I guess that's what kind of gives them its rigidity. It's them being built like crazy. But
you can, I can with these forearms, but whatever.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, flex it. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna do it for
camera. No, go ahead. No, I'm backing up. Go ahead. Flex it.
My agent doesn't want me to do that.
All right, so we have the Street Sport, and essentially, those of you guys that have the track mounts already, rejoice. You don't have to buy a completely new set of engine mounts. You can convert the track mounts by disassembling them and then swapping out these mount bushings that actually have the rubber in it. So the track have a really hard density rubber in it, and it's meant for track. It's really, really stiff. It does give a lot of vibrations on the inside of the chassis, but again, for those of the guys that are tracking and racing and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, it really doesn't matter. You want to lock down your drivetrain and your motor as best as possible. But for those of you guys that may want to street drive and enjoy maybe a lockdown feeling, 034 is saying that their street sports are those kind of mounts. So again, now that we're kind of in a downtime kind of mode with the whole pandemic that's happening in our country and around the world, I'm going to try them. I've been driving the Rs3 pretty much every day to work, and I'm kind of curious to see what it feels like. I don't even remember what a stock Rs3 feels like. It's been too long. As soon as I got the Rs3, we immediately started doing crazy stuff to it. So we're going to install these, swap these out. I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do it. and then we'll install them in the car and see how they look. Loosening this stuff up. Want to remind everyone that 034 with the street mounts also includes this kind of rubber dampener that goes in with these softer bushings on their mount kits, and they install pretty much on the inside of both mounts as a guard. Here, we'll pull this out real quick. I'll show you guys. So this is the track mount stuff that we took out. These little rubber gasket, and that's not the only difference between obviously the two. The new sport mounts are much softer according to 034, and these are a harder density, but either way they include another rubber bushing that would go over it and kind of smoothing things out. It's kind of like a buffer. So we just installed and then put this one together here, as you saw in the time lapse. And this one's pretty much ready to go back in. It looks identical to the track mount. Literally all we did was switch out this little kind of bone mount, I guess you can call it. It looks like a bone, but that's the density and that's the track mount. This thing is stiff as hell. I can't even press it in. That's how hard this rubber is. So it's really heavy duty stuff. So we're about to finish putting together or disassembling the driver's side and then swap it out with the new bushing, and then install the rubber gasket as well. A little spotlight. The kind of cool thing about this bracket system being so modular is that we're able to swap out the inserts that actually has the rubber bushing in it. So if you ever have to need to replace it, it's kind of cool. You can kind of break these down. Again, and all it is just 2 bolts, and these slide right out. And then we took out the track mounts, the track bushings, so to speak. Here they are. Not torn up. Got some scratches on the top of there, but that's probably from us installing. But they look pretty good. No cracks in the rubber. Yeah, this is a, what, year and a half now?
Yeah. Constant abuse. The daily driving it.
It's pretty good. But then again, you know, a lot of people wouldn't daily stuff, you know, track mounts. This stuff, you know, it's pretty harsh for the average person to be okay with it.
But they can't be my friend then.
So we're taking off the track mounts, and then we're going to be running the streets stuff. Did you tighten this down?
Correct.
Okay, so these are ready to install, and let's put these back in. And they should install basically the same way. Got everything kind of pretty much torn apart. I got 2 jacks, one side on the trans, one side on the motor. The only thing that sucks about this install, let me be honest with you guys, is getting under here. Having to pull this up, this bundle of wiring crap underneath the ECU to get to these bolts. It looks like there's a lot of room, but it really sucks. Use a ratcheting wrench for the last 2.
It'd be funny if me and you are doing it the hard way and somebody goes, oh, there's a clip, and it just comes out like
that probably would happen. Shut up. Shut up. And then we also took out the driver's side as well. And again, like we mentioned in our last video when we did the track mounts, for those of you guys that haven't seen it, there's a bolt that mounts the mount on the side. There's a bolt that mounts to the motor on the inside and the middle. And the way you access it on the passenger side, and then it's right behind the plastic. You'll see that hole. There you go. Boop, boop, peekaboo. So that's the last bolt that holds into the mount to the motor. And that's the way they access it. The first time we did this stuff, how long did it take us?
Oh, it took you about an hour before I came outside and figured it out.
It was bullshit. It took us both like 2 hours to figure it out. Then finally we're like, hey, we found this plastic little hole here, this plastic little thing. It pulls apart. And here's the last mount on the hole. How do we get to it? And we finally found it. So it was both of us here for 2 hours.
It's on camera. It was you.
All right, so let's install these. And they should install pretty much the same way they came off. And then we'll button up the engine bay and then go from there.
Look, it's all back together. Huh.
And half the time it took us to do engine brackets the first time, remember?
Yep. And George only stripped 2 bolts on this install, so that's pretty good.
We're not. I thought you said we weren't going to talk about that.
I lied. Anyway, guys. So this install went a lot easier the second time around, because the first time we put the tracks, it was a little bit harder since we had to find that 1 bolt through the wheel well.
Well, and to be honest with you, we never did this before. This is my first transverse mounted engine car, especially the 8V. So finding the little tricks and where to access the passenger side engine mount was it was a learning curve for us, but we finally figured it out. I think we just did this in just about under an hour.
Under an hour,
just give or take, with all the kind of messing around in terms of all the brackets and then filming and then taking pictures. But we got everything back together. Everything's clean. Still holding on strong. The engine mount, that's doing pretty good in terms of the grommets. But
on the cover?
Yes.
Nice, yeah.
But I'll tell you guys now, now that we got everything installed, we want to give it another week or 2 to kind of let the engine mounts break in, and then do our initial review to let you know what it's like driving every day, as opposed to just maybe a 3-minute drive real quick and kind of give you something that's half-assed. So Same thing we did on the track mounts. We ended up driving on those for, I think, just a few days. So we'll give it a few days and we'll throw out another video at the end of next weekend of what we think about the 034 Sport. Or is it the Street Sports, right?
I'm not even sure.
Street Sports. I'm pretty sure it's the Street Sport as opposed to the track. So kind of excited. You know, everything with the racing stuff is kind of like halted now because of this whole epidemic. So the car has turned into a street car yet again. We put the interior in. I don't know if you want to show them the interior.
What? This tin can got an interior?
I know.
Oh my god.
I actually kind of like the way the stock seats fit. Don't mind the mess. I actually kind of like the way the stock seats fit. And then I'm gonna put the back seats back in too. I know it's crazy.
What?
I know.
This car came with back seats?
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's a 4-door, so I'm gonna throw the back seats back in.
This is not a 4-door. These are welded carbon fiber doors. Oh my god, it opens.
But that's it. We're gonna just wrap up this video, guys. That's how you install the Street Sports and convert your track mounts to Street Sports. You don't have to buy another set of brackets or anything like that. It comes with just another set of bushings, and showed you guys how to break it down. If we could do it, you guys can do it.
Correct. Unfortunately, you guys don't have a guy like Stav to help you, but hey, it's all good, you know?
All right, well, I'm George.
I'm Stav.
This is Malaka Motorsports. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.